Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Patricia. I've been living in London for past 2 years doing my master in fashion design, and today I'm talking about something completely unrelated to fashion. I'm talking about Tinder dates. When I was living in Poland, I was never a fan of dating apps. Like, I was quite against it. For me, it ruined my romantic vision of how I would like to meet my potential boyfriend. Like, I just always wanted it to be happening organically. I also felt like this whole swiping factor of like judging people by the way they look like, it just felt wrong for me. It just felt unfair. Like, you can't really judge a person only by their few pictures. Like, there's so much more to us than just our face. There is a body language, there is sense of humor, there is confidence or lack of it, there is the factor if someone looks in your eyes while they're talking, if they're listening to you. Like, these all things contribute to the factor of being attracted by someone or not. When I came to London, I decided to download Tinder. I wasn't like really focused on the factor of finding relationship. Like, I think that I've always been kind of open to it, but I also had this thought in my head that it needs to be a right person for me. Basically, I don't really have this pressure to be with someone. I think that I am maybe even too comfortable with being single. That's the way I was raised. At the same time, I've always wanted, because why not? I had this romantic vision of my prince on a white horse. I'm joking, obviously. I'm way more realistic than this. In this video, I'm gonna for sure give you my worst dating experiences, but the second part would be what are my best advices for every girl who's going on Tinder, for everyone basically, but in terms of safety, in terms of yourself, in terms of what you should be looking at, I'm gonna give you my personal advices, so stay tuned for that. Right, so I met a few people, like I would go for first dates, and I can't even tell you right now why these were usually only first dates, not the second. Maybe I was picky, maybe I was shy, maybe there was always something going on that was not 100% right. Maybe it was also the fact that I had like 5 different guys that I was talking to at the same time, and for me, kind of in my head, going for a second date would mean that I'm gonna continue it and maybe I'm thinking about something more serious there, and I was kind of afraid of it. I cannot really say what and why it happened. I had this one guy that I was chatting on this dating app. I knew that his English was not really great. Basically, he was pushing me to meet him. And back then, just so you know, I wasn't so open to meet up someone, like, let's say straight after we started to talk. Like, I needed some time, I needed to get to know this person because I felt really insecure about myself and I didn't really want to put myself in any type of awkward, cringy, weird position. So I would prefer to get to know someone. But basically, I was working, I had my uni, I didn't really have that much time, so I told him that look, not this week, maybe the next one, because I have a lot of things going on. And I made a mistake there because I mentioned what kind of center I was working in. And that's something I wouldn't really do right now. But what happened next? He would like message me randomly around 11 or 12 at night when I would be already in my bed because I was working early and he was not. If I would like to go for a ride because he was driving a car with him, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing things like that. I don't know, like, he was giving me this really weird vibe, so I wasn't really sure if I would even want to like continue this conversation or whatever, but he would like message me. So back then it was difficult for me, and I still have this issue sometimes to politely reject someone, because we obviously all handle rejection in different ways. Some people have issues with handling rejection basically, so you never know what kind of person is that. They can be aggressive, they can be really offensive. And there was this one day when I was working in the evening, I think, and I was supposed to go to the gym after that. And listen, I got a message from him if I'm at work. I was like, yes, I'm at work, because he wanted to meet up. But then he started to ask me more detailed questions, like, what are you doing now? When is your break? And I was like, there's something wrong here, there's something shady. So I was like, yeah, I'm on my break right now. Why? And he was like, where did you say you were working again? And I'm like, why? No, just no reason, just asking. Why does it matter? Oh no, just wanted to know where you work. I was like, well, I'm at work. If you're thinking about visiting me or something, I'm gonna tell you initially, don't do this, because this is my workplace. I'm with my manager today, which was a lie, and you cannot visit me. I cannot have my private life here at work. So I got a bit scared. I was like, there's something wrong here. And he was like, okay, it's fine. So what are you doing? And then he stopped responding. So I went back on the shop floor, and then he messaged me something like, I just want to see you. And I was like, please don't come here. Like, if you want, we can meet up after I finish work, but don't come to my work. I was freaking out because I'm like, I cannot have any Tinder boy coming to my work. Like, come on, let's just be serious here. So I was on my shop floor. I was like cleaning something or whatever, and I see this guy walking around with his phone, like talking on the phone or pretending to talk on his phone, and like walking around the shop floor and like looking around. And I stopped. I was like looking at him, and he started to look at me, and he would like walk literally around the area that I was working at, and he would like from time to time stop with his phone. I wasn't sure if he was like recording me, what was he doing. He didn't look like this guy that I was talking to from Tinder. So I had this thought like, oh, he's probably here. He came to, I don't know, check me out, whatever, even though I told him multiple times not to do so. And he's a proper catfish because he doesn't look exactly the way he did at all, actually. So I approached him, and he was trying to make a joke and say something like, oh, how much is this dress or something. And I looked at him because I already knew that this is the guy that I'm probably talking to. And I said, listen, you can't be here. I'm at work. We can meet after work. Even though I really didn't want to do that at that point, but I was like, I wanted to get rid of him from that place. So he was like, okay, where? I'm like, I don't know. I just made it up, like, Pret, 7 p.m. I'm finishing. And then he like left the shop floor. He was standing like, because our shop floor kind of ends and then you have this hall, and he was standing in this hall talking on this phone for like next 10 minutes. I was like really stressed at that point. So then I left my job and I met him next to this Pret, and we started to walk, and he started to talk something, and I was again like, listen, you can't do something like that. And I was pretty sure that this is the guy I'm talking to, right? Like, I didn't even bother to say something like, you're not looking like your pictures, because I was just like, we're never gonna see each other ever again. I just want to get rid of him from my life. So we kind of had a walk for a moment, and I was explaining that this is not okay, and he was trying to like change the subject. So I was being polite, and I talked to him for like 10 minutes or something. And then when we were splitting our ways, and then I got a message, I think the next day, how are you? I don't know why I was even replying. Like, I sometimes am such a in terms of things like that. Like, I should be more like, end of the story, that's it, here, I'm not gonna play things like that. I don't know why I can't really do that. I guess like it's this kind of my compassionate nature that I don't really want to hurt anyone. I don't know if it happened like a few days later, maybe a week later, I again got a message from this guy, and I think he sent me a picture, and I'm not sure if it was a picture of himself or something else. And he didn't look like the guy that came to the store. He looked like the guy from Tinder. So I was like shocked a bit, and I'm thinking, what the hell is even happening here? So I started to ask questions like, who the hell are you? Who the hell was that? Like, I was stressed, like, I'm here on my own, I don't know what's going on, like, I don't know this man, he knows where I work, and I don't really know much about him. So then he started to apologize, and he actually didn't really say anything specific. He was just like, I'm so sorry, can we meet, can we talk? I was like, no, we can't talk, I don't want to meet you. He still like wasn't responding. Again, maybe his poor English, I don't know. I was like, who was that? If it wasn't you, who the hell was that? Who did you send to this store? Like, what the hell? I don't want to see any of you again. And he said something like, how could you not recognize me, or something like that. And I could have seen by this message that he was not the one writing it, because the English was like way better than his, and he was saying something like how could you think that it was me even though you saw me on the photos or something. I'm like, Jesus, I thought you were a catfish or something. And he's like, oh, okay, can we talk, can we please meet and talk? And I was like, no, listen, whatever you did there, whoever that was, I don't want to talk to you ever again. So just please delete this number. I blocked him on my number, and I was like, if you ever try to come to my work again, I swear I'm going to the police. So then I had the message on Instagram, and guess who messaged me? The guy that showed up in my store, saying something like, oh, hey there again, can we please talk, I would like to explain, or something like that. I was like, listen, I don't want to talk to any of you, don't ever message to me again. And I blocked him again. And then I got another message on my messenger from this guy again, saying something, I'm so sorry, can we please talk, can we please talk? I don't want to talk to any of you. I was a bit stressed by this whole situation because, you don't know these people, you don't know who these guys are, you don't know what their intentions are. Like, as I said, it can be dangerous. I was usually going to the gym after my work, so I would go after work for a coffee to Starbucks or Pret, have a coffee, and then go to the gym. And that's what I did that day. The thing is that usually I sit downstairs. There were no free tables downstairs. I went upstairs in a coffee place. And you don't have windows upstairs. You can't see anything from outside. So I was sitting, I was having my coffee, and I see walking on the stairs upstairs this guy who came to the store. Like, my heart started to pump because I was like, did he actually follow me? And I was like shocked, and I looked at him. He was like, hey. I'm like, what are you even doing here? Oh, I just saw you from the outside and I wanted to talk to you. And I'm like, through what? A wall? He's like, no, I saw you before. And I'm like, did you follow me? Because this is how it looked like for me. He must have waited for me after I finished work, after we closed the center, and follow me to this coffee shop. That was super creepy. Tell me if I'm wrong. That was creepy. I want to explain. I will explain everything. I was like, listen, I don't know what you and your friend are doing here. I don't care. I don't want to see any of you once again, or I will call the police. I was like, okay. And he left. And luckily, I never heard from them again. That's how it ended. But I must say, for the next couple of weeks, I would look behind my shoulder, behind my back, and see if no one's following me. When I was going back home in the evening, I would look through the bus if there's none of them there. Like, I would be really cautious about myself at that point. The second, not great story from Tinder, I think I didn't really have any major drastic experiences apart from this one. I went on a date with one guy, so we went for a couple of drinks. While I was having one mojito, he would have 2 or 3, and I don't really drink that slow. I could have seen that he was drinking really fast. I get this vibe when I'm going for a good party and I don't have much time, so I want to get tipsy before I leave, and that's how I drink before that moment before the party, but not on a date. So I immediately had this alarm in my head saying like, is he trying to get drunk or what's going on here? So then he invited me to his house to like have more drinks, and I was like, I'm going home. He was like, listen, this is my friend and he's gonna have like a friend as well, so we can just all together chill and have one drink or something. I was like, no. He's like, come on, just one drink, we're not gonna be alone, you're gonna be with me, with this friend. And then there was another girl that came, said hi, just one drink, it's like literally right there. And I don't know why I agreed to that, but I did. It was super awkward. This guy was making drinks, and these drinks were like triple vodka. I'm not even joking, like super strong. So I was like, I don't think I should drink it. And then the guy that I was on a date with asked me if I smoke. I'm like, no, I don't. Then he left me with this friend and this girl to go outside and smoke. And his eyes were like red. I think you can imagine, like he was not only after like already 5 drinks probably, and he smoked. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm going. He was really trying to stop me. Luckily he didn't, and I managed to leave the house. There's a difference between getting a bit tipsy on a date so you can feel a bit more confident, I guess, and getting like completely intoxicated, because there's no other way I can call this. And I had a few other conversations. I heard from one guy, or I read actually from one guy something like, oh, these fucking Eastern Europeans, they have no sense of humor. I had also a guy who was looking for a wife, literally. He was like, he's a policeman, he's 33 or something like that. He's at this age when he cannot waste no more time. So when he was inviting me on a date and I said I'm busy, then later on in this conversation it came out that he was actually having 5 dates in like 4 days planned, because he's looking for a wife. Like he is looking for a wife. And when I was like, listen, like I don't think it's the best app to look for a wife, like don't get me wrong, but it's Tinder. Plus you can't really tell someone you're looking for a wife. Like this is something that may happen or may not, it depends on many different things, but it's not like you're meeting someone and you're telling them I'm gonna marry you. Like you need time and getting to know each other process to get to the stage, right? Like maybe I am wrong, but that's what I told him, and he got upset. Oof. When I told him that, listen, that's not how it works, he literally told me that I am not serious, I should not be on this app and waste serious man time like himself. I am clearly immature and I don't know what I want from life. And if you're bored, maybe you should go back to your country and stop being here and bothering people on dating apps. And I'm like, I had a guy who was trying to be a bit more cheeky, and I think he mentioned something about sexting, I don't know. And I responded, I really don't feel like guys sending the unexpected pics. It's not really working well. Like I don't really know what the girl's supposed to like respond to that, because I don't really find it sexy myself. Like I don't think there's anything beautiful or turning on in getting a pic. And when I said that to him, oh god, he got triggered, like properly. He was starting to make a huge monologue how I am probably having a lot of insecurities about myself. Like I am probably a really sexually close-minded person. I have some issues around my sexuality for sure. I can't even remember, but these were like messages after messages, like I could scroll through it, like, trying to tell me like there must be something clearly wrong with me, that I don't want to receive pics from him or men overall. And I was like are you joking right now? And I was trying to say, listen, this is my personal choice. You can do whatever you want, but this is my preference. I prefer not to. And he was still trying to tell me that this is something wrong with me, that I don't want to. And I'm like, listen, I don't like it, end of the story. But if you're into these kind of things, listen, I'm sure there are so many girls on this app that will be happy to do so. Then go for it. But it's just not me. I would expect everyone to just end the conversation, be like, okay, good luck, bye. But no, he would be like, we don't always get what we want. He referred to my picture because I had one picture with my, back then, more blondish hair and pink nails, I think. I am not really into blonde girls with fake pinky nails, but here I am, right? We don't always get what we want. And I'm like... So yeah, I don't know, like, I guess it takes time for us to not take things personally. I used to be way more triggered by messages like that. I used to be really like stressed and anxious when someone started to offend me. I still am sometimes, but I usually am not really triggered by what they say to me that much. I am then upset with myself that I didn't respond in a correct way, because in my head I was like, I should have said something like really passive aggressive. But in this specific moment I would be like, I just want to get rid of this conversation, and I usually don't say much, and then I regret not saying much because I'm like, I should have said something. So this is like the important part that we're getting into. Every girl that is going on Tinder date, and we are talking mainly the first one, you let someone know when where you're going. Even initially, even the point when you're meeting, I would always recommend you to meet someone in a public place, and ideally not after 9 p.m. when it's like completely dark. Whether it's the first, third, fifth, 15th date, you should never force yourself to do anything you don't feel like doing. I know it may sound quite cliche, but trust me, it's not. Especially, I would say here, I've learned that men can be really pursuing and really pushy in terms of different things. And they don't really want to take no for an answer, which sounds terrible, but that's the way it is. And if you say no, they will not just leave it like that. They will try to convince you. They will try again in a few minutes. They will try again in half an hour. I know it can be frustrating. It may feel like there's something wrong with you, that you have to do it again and again, and maybe you are being too, I don't know, whatever. It's completely fine, and this is exactly what you should be doing. If you don't feel like, I don't know, going into his place on this specific date, don't do it. Even if he's trying to give you millions of arguments why you should do that, don't do it. If you don't feel like it, say no for 100 times, but say it and don't do it. Because later, if you do that, you're gonna feel really bad about yourself. You don't really know what's gonna happen, especially if you just met this guy. There's this saying, and I really believe it. It's more important to be safe than nice. And this is really important. You are protecting yourself. The other thing that I would always say, trust your guts. If you feel like there's something shady about the whole situation, if you don't feel like you can trust the guy, if you don't feel like he is okay, like whatever your guts are saying to you, like whatever your intuition is telling you, listen to it. And even if you're about to finish your date earlier, if you're about to lie that you need to go home, do it. Trust me, it's better for you to get back to this home safe and sound and not know how it could potentially end up than be in trouble, basically. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a position when you're gonna get anxious, stressed, and you don't know what's going on. Like, don't do it. For me, there's also the rule, unless I feel like completely safe with someone, I wouldn't get inside the car with a man that I don't know. I know they sometimes offer, for example, if they drive, that they will pick you up. I never agree to these things, and I think it's safer, especially for the first date, to never agree, because you, as I said, you don't know this person. Apart from like safety things, I will not really get into like how to choose a man because I clearly don't know myself. But there's also this thing, relationships usually end the way they started, and there's so much truth to it. Like, I don't know if you've noticed it in your life ever, but usually when something bothers you on the first date, like if you have some red flags from someone, which is something you should be watching and paying attention to, even if he's the hottest guy you've ever seen and if you're so attracted by him, like, please just pay attention to them, because this look and the fact that he's tall is not everything. So basically the things that they do on the first date that would trigger you, they're usually a tip of the iceberg, and then when you start seeing them, you actually see how it develops, and it's usually the last thing that will end this relationship. And I've had this as well. I didn't feel listened, and the guy was mainly talking about himself and literally didn't ask me a single question. I think he was just running a monologue about his life, his God, and many other things. Never mind. I didn't feel like he cared much about me, and he was handsome and tall, and along other things, that's why it also ended, because I didn't feel like he cared about me. So pay attention to red flags, pay attention to how you feel in the situation, if the conversation is going, if you feel safe. There's also the thing that I find really difficult, as I said before, rejecting people in a way that how to tell someone after 1 or 2 dates that, yeah, you didn't really click. And the worst thing that you can do, and this is something I am guilty of, I used to do that quite a lot in first place, is ghosting someone. And I didn't really ghost in a way that I would immediately stop responding, no, because that's rude for me, but I would start being a bit more flaky. Like, you know, if someone was like, oh, so would you like to meet next week, and I couldn't say no, so I'd be like, yeah, well, let's see, I'm gonna have a busy week, but maybe. And then next week, when they would ask me, for example, on Thursday, what are you doing tomorrow, I would pretend I didn't see this message, and on Friday I would respond like, oh, hey, I am, I don't know, meeting my friends, which was a lie. And you know, like, I would try to postpone it, delay it, and then eventually they would also give up and it would never happen. So that was my way of ghosting. And instead of just saying directly to someone, listen, it's not gonna happen. Or, for example, like, I met someone new, and it may be difficult to hear. So let's say you met a few guys on dating apps, let's say 3, and you're chatting with all of them, and you went for 1 date with a guy, but it didn't really click, and you went for a date with the second guy, and it went fine. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for a second date and see how it goes. So you go for a second date, there's a sparkle, there's potential, and you maybe don't feel really okay, like that's usually how I would feel, to continue the conversation with the other guys, because they would eventually want you to meet them, right? Like, that's the whole purpose of talking. So so the question is, how do you do it? And right now I would literally say it directly, like, listen, I'm sorry, but I kind of met someone and I would like to give it a chance, blah blah blah. I would be honest. In the past, as I said, I wouldn't be honest, but then you need to be aware that there will be different responses, and guys can be triggered. And I had this one guy, I remember, like, we literally exchanged like 3 messages maybe, how are you, blah blah. There was never any kind of deeper, longer conversation between us. I even forgot about him, and I was seeing someone, and he messaged me again like, do you want to meet up? And I was like, oh no, I forgot about you, like, we didn't talk for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I said, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing someone. And then he, oh my god, he got so triggered. He messaged me like, okay, fine, I know he's not better than me, but okay, next time maybe think about not wasting other people's time. Wasting your time? Like, you literally messaged me like twice maybe, and it didn't even last 10 minutes. People get married for like 20 years and they get divorced This is what you can call wasting someone's time, or I don't know, dating somewhere for months and not forming a relationship, or not knowing where you are with this person. That's something we can call wasting time, in my opinion. But exchanging a few messages, like when we met on dating app, which is kind of logical that we have plenty of other people there, I don't know. And the last thing I would say in terms of like my initial tips and things about, I would say, about first dates, because we're talking about the really initial stage of dating, is try not to take your previous experiences with you on a date with a new person, because it usually ends wrong. Like, I understand that we sometimes went through something and you meet someone and this person will trigger this part of you that, I don't know, your ex was doing this and then he's doing it, but maybe he just did it once, maybe it was really innocent, I would say. Or just because, I don't know, your ex was never really calling you, was never texting you good morning, he was not this kind of person, and you kind of like that, and now this guy is texting you good morning and you're like, oh my god, he's so different from my ex, that's so amazing. Well, yeah, maybe he can message you good morning, but then there will be so many different things that he's not gonna do. That just like kind of try to open yourself for a new experience and for this person, and be present in this specific moment. The last one, I would say, don't make my mistakes. Don't overthink, especially after first or second date. Like, don't spend time overthinking what was going on, analyzing every single move. It's too early to say. You don't really know this person. Just because this person did something really minor, it doesn't mean that it was actually relevant. So honestly, just try to be open, try to be present, and don't overthink it. And I will definitely talk more, because I have so many things I can talk about dating and relationships. That is just the first part. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your worst stories of your dates. Thank you for being here with me. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.